Okay, let's next go to underachievement. Underachievement is not a diagnosis that appears in the DSM-3, but it's something that we're all faced with in the gifted community. The definition simply is performance below potential. Everybody has a different definition of that. Below potential for somebody with an IQ of 200 is rather remarkable for anybody else, but for them it can be very, very upsetting. I have an individual like this who I'm working with now. There almost always are coexisting symptoms of anxiety, depression, and you could say bipolar symptoms. They feel very upset about it, very concerned about it. And the really big question for the diagnosis is it primarily an issue of underachievement that has caused the anxiety and the depression, or has there been something else that's caused anxiety, depression, and mood swings that then has caused the underachievement? Or are all of these part of a gifted developmental picture? So underachievement is multifaceted, it's multi-determined, as are the others. What about the causes of underachievement? I'm sure many of you have read about this, but I thought I'd start off with, people who are not gifted can be underachievers too. And in general, the gifted and non-gifted individuals share these causes. There's a mismatch between school and between the schools, between a curriculum that's not stimulating enough, teachers who don't really get it, peers who really don't get them, and parents who misunderstand or don't care about it. There are quirks in learning styles. As you go up the IQ scale, that becomes more and more of an issue, and there are personality problems. So the generally thought of causes are these mismatches, quirky learning styles, and what are called personality problems. Okay, let's go to the causes of underachievement that are special to gifted individuals. I've divided this up into cognitive issues and the social and emotional issues. The cognitive issues you may not have heard of as much. As I've gotten more and more experience working with these young people, they begin to tell me what exactly it is that goes on really in their minds. And the higher the IQ, sometimes the more troubling this really is. For instance, they all have very unique ways of learning as they go up the IQ scale. Not that IQ is a measure of actual giftedness, but it is a rough, sort of measure of that. And oddly enough, even though they have remarkable abilities to learn things in their own special ways, they end up feeling that these are sort of learning disabilities, or they're disabled in some way, or they have strange ways of learning, and they feel that they're strange or deficient, as opposed to blessed with ways of learning. There also is this cognitive flooding. That is, there are just too many ideas and too many possibilities, all of which seem valid. A kind of milder form of what Kay Jamison has described. The issue becomes how to make these choices, and they can get quite overwhelmed by it and want to withdraw. The social emotional issues for gifted kids, there's always a balance between wanting to privately explore issues and wanting to be involved, so that they are frequently interested in protecting themselves from the isolation. On the other hand, they don't want to be invaded by it. It becomes a real conflict. The next one is what I've called protecting time-sensitive developmental tasks. So that is, they are aware of the fact that they can achieve way beyond what many kids can, but if they continue to do this and get extremely focused, they're going to cut themselves out of the kinds of things that other kids are doing, so that they may not develop the kind of friends and social skills, they may not learn how to function in a group properly, they may be cut out of the beginnings of sexual experimentation, and they get very worried about this. It becomes a serious conflict and anxiety. Gifted kids also like to experiment with failure. so that becomes a cause of what looks like underachievement, but actually it's not. I remember working with a young woman who came in and said in one of the sessions she just had the best day of her life that she can remember. And I said, gee, what happened? She said, well, I just flunked an exam. I said, that's the best day of your life? She said, yes, I never knew what it felt like. I just had to experience something like this. I wanted to see what it was like. She said, don't worry about it, Dr. Grobman. I'm going to get an A in the course. But I just wanted to see what it was like to fail an exam. Then there is the issue of avoiding the strangeness of what I've called the internal experience of giftedness. The extra sensitivities, the uncanny abilities that they have, these extra cognitive abilities, their intuition, their unusual ways that they're inspired, their aesthetic sense. These, rather than feel like assets, all can feel like liabilities to these kids. And others may be very envious of their ability to do it, but they feel really quite peculiar. And the last I've listed as the concern about the power and charisma of being gifted. You know, frequently in the gifted community you learn about kids who are ostracized, but I've seen many kids who have had actually the reverse. There are lots of very bright kids in New York. The schools can be very sensitive to these kids and very welcoming, and in fact they can be very admired and revered, placed on the pedestal and given a certain amount of power. They can feel very uncomfortable with this.